Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Sometimes a silent song is the most poignant. Continuing their journey to lift Gideon's curse, Willow and her fox companion have been tasked with escorting Princess Nuala to be wed to a prince from a...
And I did not mean to click that. So, I thought I was getting rid of overlays, and I'm getting rid of videos, but I am RJ Carter, Senior Manager Goof Up here at the CriticalBlast.com studios. And we're going to play that again for you in a little bit so you can see the full effect of the Fox and Willow trailer. With me right now tonight, I have joining us Allison Pang, the writer of Fox and Willow. Allison, welcome to the show.
Hello.
And also joining us from Malaysia is Aimo Ahmed. Aimo,
Hi.
welcome.
Hi. Thanks
So
for having
good to hear
me.
you.
Yeah, you can. I'm waving, but you can't see me. So
Well, we can at least see your circle kind of give
yeah.
off waves of happiness and joy when you speak. So
So
we know
just
that
think
you're
of me
there.
as an AI or something.
Exactly. So, gosh, this is the second book in your Fox and Willow series.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to find out more about what it's about. I of course have watched the video. Everyone else is going to have to guess at it for a little while now. Because I don't know why I clicked on that. I was like, oh, when it comes back, I don't want that overlay to be in front of everything. It wasn't an overlay. That's just, I got confused. It's a long day. We do have folks in the chat saying hello to everybody here. We have Mr. Mike Walters from the mic stand. Lorenzo Sleestack is out here watching. Chris Serrani is out here. So,
Hey.
Oh, hey, Frick, I know you.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say it looks like there's some familiarity going on there. So I'm gonna ask you both the same question here. Why in the world are you making comics? I mean, what's wrong with you?
I ask myself that every day now.
Yeah. It's like I don't know. It's just that I've always been interested in drawing since I was a kid. But I mean, before this, it was like I think it's from my brother who bought all those X-Men comic books and stuff like that. So I got interested in the drawings and the story. But I think I was seriously decided, hey, I'm gonna do this after I read the first issue of the translated manga Lam Yurusei Yatsura from Viz Comics in 1989, I think. Yeah. It's like it's
Old,
like
we're old people, we're old ladies.
oh yeah, we are all
I remember 1989.
yeah. So I guess that's when I started to consider seriously doing it. Even unrealistically as it is back then.
And Allison?
Yeah, I'm trying to think as far as comics go. I didn't actually collect a whole lot of them growing up. My brother was not into them, and it was not as easy. Obviously, there was no internet, so
Now internet.
limited. Now you can go online and there's comics everywhere. But
Yeah, believe it or not, there was an era, children, when you didn't have this rectangular window that was.
No,
We also
no,
had streaming modems.
yeah,
Remember that?
I do, unfortunately, and bulletin board systems and all that other fun stuff. But I've always just kind of liked the medium, graphic novels in particular. When those, I think one of my first ones that I had gotten when I was in college was The Crow, and then some of the Sandman series, and I was just very taken with the whole concept of the storytelling, and then having the images, sort of work in tandem with that. There's just kind of a very nice balance. And so, I just, even though I am a writer and I do write novels and I write short stories, there's something about comics and manga that I just really love. So
Yeah.
Of course,
I mean, when they're written, when they're done well, and I don't mean it's a good story, I don't mean it's good art, but I mean when you have somebody, a creative team that understands how that meshing works, it really does produce something that that neither form can produce on its own. But you're looking at like your Alan Moores and your Jimmy Gownleys and such like that. You can't even film it if it's truly done with everything that comics can do.
Sure, absolutely.
So what brought you to the tale of Fox and Willow? Now this reads to me very, very much like a Japanese folk tale. Is it inspired by one, or is it just
We take elements of mythologies and myths and folklore in general. But I guess, I mean, when it comes to Gideon himself, he is
He's a fox
drawn
spirit.
from
Absolutely, from both Chinese and Japanese, and a lot of the other Asian cultures do have mischief makers of one sort or another, and foxes are of course one of them. So I definitely have a very soft spot for foxes, so I definitely wanted to work with that. But back when we were coming up with some of these ideas, the story itself, each chapter is actually really based off of a more Western fairy tale. So like The Little Mermaid, or Red Riding Hood and things like that. But we are kind of twisting them and giving them maybe a little bit of a different flair, which is one of the really nice things about fairy tales, is that anybody can take them and do whatever with them. So
I mean, considering that actual fairy tales and folklore have how we say, it's not exactly, I mean, how do I say this? A mature, origins. It's not exactly the family friendly versions that we get now in media.
the what we call the Bowdlerized versions.
Right.
Yeah.
I had an original Grimm's fairy tale book when I was a kid. And I used to read that
gosh,
all the time. And it was
the
huge.
stuff in those original Grimms, I was like, this was for kids. Stuff that stands out to me is like the bear wounded sitting there saying Rose White, Snow White, Rose Red, will you kill your lover dead? I'm like, you're a bear.
And we wanted to kind of keep that sort of theme that, because fairy tales, a lot of them, they were cautionary tales. At least a lot of them were in various ways, and they have changed so much over the years. Even Red Riding Hood, which of course, we all sort of know it as the tale with the wolf and the woodcutter coming into free Red Riding Hood and her grandmother after they get eaten. But like in the original one, like the French version, I that doesn't happen, and Red Riding Hood dies, and the cat calls her a slut, and there's all kinds of like horrible things, because it was a big.
Was it a Stranger Danger story too?
Yeah, basically, it was basically telling women, girls, stay away from those wolfish men because you're going to get eaten up, and that'll be the end of you.
Can you imagine, going to see Disney's The Little Mermaid and Ariel dies at the end?
You know what? I really am a sucker for the original. So
yeah. I remember an anime version that had that actually animated the whole tragedy aspect, and I still remember it now.
Yeah,
it has a lasting impact.
Yeah, we've gotten used to our fairy tales having happy endings all the time. So I'm not sure that that's actually a good thing, but
I mean,
I think I liked a few stories that says, hey, guess what? Things don't work out.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Things happen.
The villains don't always have to have redemption stories, and that's what I feel like
they do not.
Seeing a lot of right now is like, well, we have to tell their side of it and why they're not really such a bad person. And I'm like, okay, sure, why not? But
there is nothing in the world you can do to make me sympathize with a woman who wants to wear puppies as a coat.
Yeah, that movie, huh?
I liked it. It was like, actually, it was a pretty good movie. I liked it, but I agree. I was kind of a little bit like, why are we doing this?
I think we all actually enjoyed her as the villain itself in the original. So it's like to have
Some people are just bad. Some people
it's a story that didn't need to be expanded on, but I guess
I mean, I can see stories that says here's how this person became the villain, but that doesn't mean that you have to feel sorry for them in the way that they did it, or even try to understand them. But
we actually, I mean, even in our stories, when we have villains, for the most part, they're villains all the way through until they get their comeuppance.
Like Jenna, what's her name? Jenna, right? In volume 1. Yeah, it's like she's evil, like selfish, evil. But when you see her backstory, you kind of understand why she did what she did. I mean, you don't approve of it. Yeah, you don't approve. You don't endorse it, but you understand, and I think that's an important part of what we are trying to do in this comic series.
And for me, the best villains I don't think anybody, who's truly a villain thinks, yes, I'm the bad guy.
No.
They're always the hero in their own story. I mean, Lex Luthor is truly trying to save the world from an alien invasion that nobody else can see coming but me.
Exactly.
So I do have the page pulled up here, and Chris has said, as long as Gideon doesn't die at the end, we're good. And I think Lorenzo wants to find a French version of that Little Red Riding Hood.
Cat called a woman a slut. Yes, the original Red Riding Hood. When she goes into the house, the cat calls her a slut. So it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I've read the original Sir Richard Burton Tale of 1,000 Nights and a Night.
Sure.
And some of the language in that and the references were like,
okay, yeah.
a little steamy.
Yeah.
So what is Fox and Willow, and where have they come from so far to get to this second chapter?
So you want us to rehash the first chapter? I can't with the part of this. We can't go into huge amounts of detail because a lot of their backstory we don't even tell so much about in the very first book. This is sort of like a very organic unfolding where it's sort of a mystery here. We know that she's being chased by somebody, and we know that he's cursed. He's got a collar around his neck that he can't get off, that is sort of keeping him bound to her at the moment. But and as we go through the stories, we find out a little more, and then a little more, and then a little more, and then like the last chapter was kind of I think freaked some people out, especially the way it ended. So we're not going to get into that right now. But for the second book, the two of them in the original book had not been traveling around for very long. They knew each other for various reasons that I won't get into. But
you only find that out in chapter 3. Chapter 3, volume 3 or 4?
Yeah, volume. We've been writing this for 10 years now. If you want to,
singing in my head. Here's where he meets Prince Charming, but she won't discover it until chapter 3.
Exactly. So, but in the first book, they're on their way. They're trying to escape a certain situation. They run into a very bad person, the aforementioned Jenna, I guess, who this fairy tale, the first one was based on, I guess Trois Sisters, which was like the original. It was like a ballad at one point, but it's also very similar to the Singing Bone. If you're familiar with the Grimm's fairy tale of that, where they, you have a person who dies and then they have a bone, and then somebody comes along, makes a flute or something out of that bone, and then they play it, and the bone tells the story. And it's very similar.
Those guys were creepy.
Yeah, there's crazy stuff there. But very similar, and we find out how she gets her harp, because you can see she's got a harp in a lot of these pictures. And we get a little bit of information, as far as where they're coming from. We know that they're trying to find a solution to his curse. That's really the main thing. and then the characters that she meets at the end of the first chapter kind of continue a little bit into the second chapter. So even though each volume is its own separate story, there's still like an overlaying arc that kind of connects them all together. And each volume is a separate fairy tale of sorts.
Yeah, but there's continuity in between the volumes, and there's also shout outs back to the previous previous chapters.
The next chapter that should hopefully start coming out in October actually has a lot of callbacks to some of the original chapters, volume 1 and 2 and 3 actually. So they're all in there.
All right. Well, talking to the physicality of the book for a little bit here, and by the way, folks in the chat, I know we have a lot of folks in here who have to get PDF versions of things for logistical reasons. You can get the PDF of this for $10, and you can get the catch-up tier. Basically, you can get the PDFs of 1 and 2 for only $15. So if you want to hit that link underneath the video, and I also pinned it up at the top of the chat for ease of use. You have 2 options. Go ahead and do it. It won't take you away from the video. You'll still get to listen to everything while you get your credit card information put in here. But moving on to the hardcover, I wanted to ask, how big is this book? What's a buyer getting for the $30?
I may actually have a copy I can show you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
2 seconds.
Doom, doom, doom,
Yeah,
doom, 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 doom.
It's like I'm showing it here, but no one can see it. So it's up to Allison.
We can't see your copy. I know.
The limited edition version, which you can see here, has like the fancy cover on it. This one a little bit more, and these are.
Is that a dust jacket?
Numbered, and they have like a special case there, and so you can see. This is a beautiful hardcover, and then
that's a big, thick spine too.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Each volume is about 150 pages. Yeah, depending on, you can see we've got lots of big graphics. So, and they're all the whole thing is just full, and in some cases you actually get signed.
That got traveled a long way.
Yeah, we had to send them all to Malaysia so that she could sign them, and then she sent them back to me so that I could sign them.
International shipping is one of the things we do here, and that's probably one of the best workarounds you've got is to use book plates to get the book signed.
That is and right now in Malaysia, as Aimo will tell you, she can't send mail out.
Yeah, I can send express mail now to certain countries. US not included, unfortunately. I mean, unless I use something like FedEx or DHL. I mean, for the regular, like something like USPS, the General Mail Service, I still can't send international first class mail. Yeah.
COVID has definitely made this whole Kickstarter thing a nightmare in some ways.
Well,
files and stuff. So we.
I mean, in some ways, it's been interesting because people have been able to, create. You're stuck at home. What else are you going to do now? Well, let's sell things on the internet. But yeah, in the other ways, it's like I just I've been watching a shipment coming to me from the Netherlands. It arrived in the U.S. and it just sat somewhere for almost a week and a half before it started moving again.
I collect a lot of stuff from Japan, and I've had stuff take 3 to 4 months to make it over here now. I mean, things are starting to finally pick up again, but
Australia's the worst. I mean, they've gone literally in the past month from like $20-something to ship a book to Australia to $60-something to ship. To Australia.
That is ouch. That's a lot.
Because
over here, even like in I used to buy a lot of comics and TPBs at Kinokuniya in KL. That's the Japanese bookstore. Even like I went to check it out last night because I wanted to buy the hardcover volume of Coda, that comic book. But it says that I have to wait 5 to 6 weeks to get it. So it's like, no. So it's like it's easier to just buy online and get the what do you call that, the comicsology version. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the reality for me now. It's like digital comics make it easier for me to indulge in the hobby, because importing the books itself is going to be it's hard with the COVID restrictions in shipping.
Okay. Remember what I said about that little video segment that we play?
Okay.
We get to play it.
It's Shake and Bake, and I help.
Oh, okay.
Your Kickstarter is now up to 5105.
Yeah, we need $395 to go, I think.
Just $395 to go. Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to say that we can probably thank Chris Serrani for that. He's glad that he got the Patreon reminder about this stream. So thank you for putting the link out there.
And, I did. Put it everywhere.
Lorenzo, what is a book plate? That's a very good question. I've dealt with book plates a lot with because we used to get reviews from Scholastic and they'd come signed. I got some like Cornelia Funke Inkheart books. A book plate is when it's too expensive to ship the book from another country for someone to sign. So they sign basically formatted stickers.
So the
stickers get put into the just like that. Let me give you the big screen there real quick, Allison.
So we'll do this again, I'm sure. And then you can actually stick them. Sometimes they have like a sticky thing, and you can put them on the inside of the book if you want. It is much simpler for people.
I get some people want to have the actual book signed because it means, hey, the author held the book in their hands. But they still held the book plate in their hand, and
we did.
And then you stick it.
I definitely held it in my hand. Every 100 plus one of them.
Exactly. It's not a digital transfer signature. It's a real thing. They still signed it. It's just cheaper.
Yeah, that's just too complicated. The idea of trying to send however many 100 books there and back was just not going to happen. So.
Yeah, I sympathize with that immensely. So for $30, you get that 152-page book, and you get the PDF with it as well. So it looks like the PDFs are always going to accompany any physical sales on here.
Yeah, it's easy to put in your tablets and phones for you to just read on the go.
Yep.
Yeah. I've always been a physical guy. In fact, I still am a physical guy. I probably would never buy a PDF of something unless I was absolutely desperate to see what the story was. And right now there's not a story that I'm absolutely desperate. I cannot, sleep at night unless I see it. I think I bought one digital movie one time because I couldn't get a DVD to play and I had to get the review done. So I'm like, I'll buy the streaming just so I can see it. But even then, all my streaming, I have a library of hundreds of streaming movies, and they all come with, from the code that comes inside the physical disc that comes to us for reviews. So I don't know. I just I'm like a pack rat or a magpie. I like, having physical things in my hand.
Well,
I'm sure there's a psychological diagnosis for that. But
I was always a book person who wanted, I like the physical books as well. But sometimes practicality,
the ink,
sometimes it's like when you read the book read a comic book in your hand, and you can actually linger and study it up close and try to decipher how did they do this technique and well, next best thing is the digital version, but it's not the same thing as holding the texture, feeling the texture in your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
And having that part of communicating. I mean, that part of the communication between you and the page is part of the experience.
I agree that you can't get the tactile feeling of reading a book from a digital. At least I can. In fact, I actually get headaches from trying to read digital books for too long. So the $40 tier, the $10 more, is where that book plate comes in. And yes, Lorenzo, a book plate is quote unquote just a sticker, but it's something that's signed. It's got the border for the book usually on it, and this one certainly does. And it gets placed inside the front cover of the book, so that instead of having to mail the book, they just mail the stickers. It's faster, it's more expedient. What I've had to do, when I did my first book, Telos was the publisher. Here's the paperback. Alice's Journey Beyond the Moon. Links below, way below, if you ever want to support the channel. Those are down there. But we're really here for Fox and Willow. But they did a limited edition hardcover, and again, they're in England, and rather than ship 200 hardcovers to me to sign and ship back, they sent the page for the signature. So I got 200 sheets of paper, and then I signed those and then sent them back, and then they bound the pages into the book. So it's sort of like a book plate, but it looks like I actually had the book in my hand. That was interesting.
Say or not.
Yeah, somebody's here, I guess. Taxi has arrived. I don't know if y'all heard that horn or not, but and for $50, wow! For $10 more, you're going to get both hardcovers. How that doesn't add up, Allison.
We're crazy like that.
It's like 40, and then 40 is 80. That's how it should go.
It's true. Yeah, it's a bargain, man.
And I'm going to guess that somewhere, well, I maybe not. I was going to see if there was like book plate versions of both of them, but maybe
that I'm not entirely sure. I would imagine that it's something we could probably add on if it's not there. But
now, talk about the book here. By the way, this is work with me, mouse. You see how it's just going up and down and up and down. I love this envelope idea. I have not seen any crowdfunded books do this. How did you settle on this as a way to distribute?
I think that was actually more up to Outland Entertainment when we were talking to them, because they thought it was just kind of gave it that little extra, something that's not just a hardcover, but it's actually got this really neat like slipcase that you can, put. I had not seen that before either, but I really liked the concept, especially, we're going to have like the whole set, and each one's a little, got a slightly different picture on it, different, like you can see if you scroll down, there's like another shot. So like this one's got Gideon sleeping, and that one's got Gideon jumping, and who knows what the other ones will do. I don't know yet. But the cardboard, by the way, it's a pretty good thickness. This isn't like just cheap paper envelope. It's actually pretty sophisticated.
Yeah, it's protective as well, I guess, especially when you. I mean, I guess it will come into play when it's shipping, but I think as a visually also is very very.
Yeah, I really dig it. And then, like I said, each one is limited. Like I don't know if there's what cameras going there. Like that number.
Big
okay. There. So, oops, bring it back up here. So you can see that it, there's like they made 100 of them. This is number 8 of 100 actually. So
very nice. Yeah. We haven't got to the slipcover versions yet.
They're on there.
Because they are limited.
They are limited. Yeah.
Now here's looking at the very first image from the interior of the book. This is where, if Marmalade were conducting this interview, the first question he would ask is, am I old enough to read this?
Yes, this is, I want to say, I would call it ages 15, 16 and up. So it's not like a super mature, like lots of gore and sex kind of thing, but it's probably not for 10-year-olds either. We have a couple of scenes where he's naked there obviously, but we're not going to show anything. There's definitely some bedroom scenes there's absolutely no doubt of what is going on in those
and I guess in a sense also the themes of like I'll say it's like it's not the nudity or any sexual situation or the violence. It's more of like how do you say this? Like you're the writer.
I'm the writer.
I'm the visual artist. So how to say it's like things that conflicts, and how do I say this? I'm sorry, I'm a bit tongue-tied.
Fairy tales that these are based off of. I mean, yeah, sure, children can read them, but if you really take a look at a closer look at some of the concepts of what they're doing, it's not just it's a girl and a boy and they're doing X. There's a little bit more to it. But in this case, they're like his lack of clothing is really more from like a humorous viewpoint here. Obviously, he just kind of throws it at her, and she's just like, yeah, okay. Seen it, don't care, and so it's very.
I think she's more indifferent at this point because it's like, dude, you're a fox, but you're a human now, so it's like act like it. Like she's not amused.
Yeah.
So that was going to be my next question was, I've seen him as a fox on all the graphics and right here at this part of the story, he's a human being. So is he like going back and forth? Is the she or does she see this one or
what was that?
Or I didn't know if it's like only she sees him as a human being or if he's
no, he can switch back and forth. He chooses not. I mean, for the most part, he's not going to reveal the fact that he can shift his shape. And as we find out, the further along we go, the more cursed he gets, the more difficult for him to switch back and forth between these forms. And so right now, book 4, book 5, when he does switch, he doesn't even really look as human as that. So he's becoming more animal-like as we go. That's really part of the curse, is like he's going to lose the ability to be anything other than an animal eventually. So
okay, so that leads me to think that the curse has been placed on a person.
It's on him. He has been cursed, but he was a fox spirit to begin with. He was not a person who's now becoming a fox. He was a fox spirit to begin with, but that collar is keeping him from being able to, I guess, be free. Essentially,
it's making him more corporeal. So he'll be just the fox.
Just the fox, eventually, yeah.
And I imagine, losing not just the spirit form of it and the transformation part, but possibly also the higher intellect that would come.
Yeah, exactly. So
that would be terrifying to know that you're going to lose your mind as well as your your higher functions.
Exactly.
All right. So while we're here, we're looking at a $50 pledge for the entire Outland digital graphic novel bundle. Now, I did not realize that you and Outland were different entities, because a lot of times I get creators on and they're like, yes, I am, Joe, and Joe's Comics is my company. So
no, Outland is a separate publisher that were kind enough and generous enough to take us on to help us put this out there.
Gotcha. So you probably couldn't speak to any of these other titles we're seeing here.
No.
Aware of them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that is. I think we do that a lot for a lot of their Kickstarters, because I know some of our other books have been added onto some of their Kickstarters as well. So
well, it's a nice way to kind of blend everything, sell more books in one place. So
exactly.
So if you're a real digital collector for $50, you get volume 1 and volume 2 of Fox and Willow, so you're all caught up. But you also get PDFs of The Bean, Riddles and Shrooms, Santa versus Zombies, which who doesn't want to see that?
I would see that.
Hopeless Maine, Personal Demons, Night of the Vegan, The Celery Stalks at Midnight, folks, and Nightfell. So sounds like there's some good horror to be had here. And here are the book wrap versions. So you got volume 2 in the book wrap. There's only going to be, it doesn't say that it's limited to 200 here, but
it was 100 for the first one. I'm assuming it's going to be 100 for the second one as well. So,
okay, they may have oopsied on setting up their Kickstarter.
Okay,
because if you get 101 backers with
we'll figure it out then. If that's the case, we'll update that. But
that is the one. You'll have the book plate signed, and you'll have the hardcover version as well as the PDF, and you get that limited wrapper around, which is the numbered wrapper to keep your book in. So for the collectors out there, you definitely want that. I find it interesting that she made this for him because she started looking at his backside. His backside has a tail to cover it.
He does have a tail, and he has ears.
The tail also helps me to do tasteful censorship.
The tail is very good for blocking certain things.
Tail's as long as it needs to be.
It is absolutely true. See, only I get to see the uncensored ones. Occasionally, I'm like, I know we should probably cover that up.
I was saying, that's something that a lot of crowdfunded people do. Is like, and the alternate cover.
We are, I think our Patreon does have. There was a scene in the fourth one which we kind of extended just for just for some of the Patreons. That was probably not going to be in that book. I don't know.
But yeah, I guess you really couldn't have her say, "I'm tired of looking at your front side all the time." That would be a little linguistically,
Yeah, I would
maybe
keep it cleaner.
a little too on the nose to be metaphorically stretched. But yeah, he is, you know, this royalty spirit, and he says he should be clothed properly. So it's not that he's against having clothes on; it's just that he I would guess he's used
not
to
real
something
happy
more.
with the rag she made.
Yeah, but it was, you know, been stitched together from pieces of cloth found on the boat, which they got onto at the beginning of the story, or
Yes, like it picks up pretty much exactly from where the last volume left off, and with some of the characters that they met in the first volume, and so now they are getting on a ship and, you know, sailing away.
And this is, of course, where we get into a little bit of the Little Mermaid aspect of the story, where that fairy tale crossover. Lorenzo is, of course, asking how he can get the uncensored version, and I
well, there's no uncensored version of Volume 2. If you want to see some of the uncensored pages that we have, or some of the other ones, that's a Patreon only exclusive, I guess, at the moment. I don't know what we're gonna do as far as if we're gonna include them or not.
It's like that's a discussion for later down the road. Yeah.
We'll have to take a look at that. I had two versions.
Coming soon, Fox and Willow, the uncensored cut.
Yeah, we'll just do what they do in the mangas, and it's just like white everything.
Yeah.
You see anything?
Or, you know, redraw some pages and, you know, say that it's, hey, something new.
That's the advantage that, you know, the superhero artists have for drawing their good girl and bad girl comics, is that they draw the nude ones first, and then all they got to do is recolor, because it's always going to be tight-fitting lycra anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I learned to draw Wonder Woman when I was 13.
That is one sign up for Patreon. You're like really determined.
In fact, if you want to drop your Patreon link into the private chat, I'll be happy to drop it in here so that
let me pull that out here. I wouldn't. They're uncensored, but they're not like, we're not talking like you know, hentai level uncensored.
No. It's just it's like if you're used to more how say, like Neil Gaiman stuff or whatever, something around that line. Yeah.
Well, we have enough. We have enough folks out here who are fans of Daphne Lage, who's going to be here next week, and her, you know, Heir of the First Ego Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, which is definitely not a children's fuzzy furry animal book. So they're used to that. In fact, they've come to expect it, I believe.
Let's see, Patreon link. Which
you do have the Volume 1 book wrap here, so that's
okay. Yeah, you can get the other one there too.
You can get both of them for $75 each, and possibly even as add-ons if they built it correctly.
Yeah.
And then if you liked all those PDFs we mentioned earlier, there it is. There's a link. I'll copy it out. So, folks, if you want to get the uncensored version of Fox and Willow.
Uncensored. Literally, it's like 4 pages.
Yeah.
It's not
I will pay out the note for those 4 pages.
Yeah, you'll have to dig through it a little bit. They were from like last year, quite a while. So
there they are. The links have been the link has been dropped into the public chat.
Excellent.
Click away at your own risk. Send money to the Patreon as well.
Yeah, get a book.
and again, if you liked all those PDFs we listed off earlier for Outland, you can get them, probably almost all of them, here as hardcover copies in the $100 bundle, which includes the 2 hardcover versions of Fox and Willow. So deal all the way around. So now would probably be a good time for me to replay that video and let it finish this time, so people can get a little bit more of the character outlines and the story. So let's take a look at that.
Sometimes a silent song is the most poignant. Continuing their journey to lift Gideon's curse, Willow and her fox companion have been tasked with escorting Princess Nuala to be wed to a prince from another kingdom. But despite Nuala's hopes of making a joyful union, not all is what it seems between the prince and his betrothed. When his mistress, a barefoot woman without a tongue appears. A bond of friendship grows between the two ladies, even as a storm brews on the horizon. Written by Allison Pang and illustrated by Aimo Ahmed, Fox and Willow debuted in April 2012 and has maintained a strong fan base ever since, following the runaway princess Willow and her mischievous fox spirit companion, Gideon.
Woohoo!
Okay,
Woo!
so what I picked up this time around that I didn't the first time around when I was previewing it was finished in 2012, which means that no one's going to have to wait for this book once you're funded. It's ready to go.
Yeah, this one's ready to go. Yeah, it took us like a long time. Part of the problem with COVID and hopefully later chapters should not be as big of a deal because we moved more all digital. But these first 2 or 3 chapters were all all hand drawn, as Aimo could tell you, with Copics and inks and all that kind of stuff, which was great until COVID happened, and when she had to leave her apartment, as she ended up having to leave a number of those pages behind.
Yeah, it's like I brought as much as I could, but then I realized that there's some missing pages here. It's like, but I can't really go back because there's over here there's I can't really cross state borders because of COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually I haven't gone back home for over a year. Yeah. So
is it still your home though? I mean,
yeah, it's basically still my home. My brother who lives over there is still looking after my place, but I'm currently in my hometown, so everything whatever I brought with me back then 1 year ago is the only thing that I have with me here.
Yeah.
So for some of the missing pages, because I also didn't have my markers, the majority of my markers with me, so I couldn't exactly recreate the pages traditionally. So what I did is that I had to mimic some of the pages and redraw them digitally. Hopefully you can tell the difference, but basically you're getting new pages in some parts of the book.
Pages, yeah. So
sometimes. All right. I'm intrigued by the color palette that you chose on this one, Aimo. Because it's a very muted color palette. I mean, it's not, it's not bright colors all the time, but I think sometimes you do see the brighter colors. How do you determine what kind of color palette a particular scene is going to get?
Because originally I went with like a more monochrome color scheme for convenience, so that I don't have to worry about color harmony or whatever, because at least now I only have to think about I'm at a loss for words, but
ingredients, tones, yeah.
Basically I just have to worry about the mood. So technically what I use here mostly is warm and cold grays. So depending on the atmosphere that I want to bring out through the pages, I will sorry, it's like I don't know how to bring this forward. Dang, I'm sorry. It's like, I guess it's a matter of intuition. I can't really say how whatever that fits, that I feel that can make these pages pop up, I will go with that.
Okay, it looks very watercolored. Was that something you did with the traditional pages with watercolor?
It's not watercolors. It's markers.
Markers. Okay.
Yeah. Because if I were to use watercolors, I think it would take longer for me because it's a wet medium. So I will have to
it would be with the drying and the ink and all that. It would just take much, I think, longer.
Yeah.
harder to fix. So if once it
Well,
runs,
I
it's
just marvel at how you can get shading of color with markers, because I've colored with markers. It's been since second grade, but it's and it's always like more of a solid tone all the way through, and then of course the paper's soaking wet, and so is your hand, and it's all
Yeah, because it's like I can't really show you the markers that I use, but basically like the grays that I have just displayed in these pages, I think I'm using about 10 different shades. So 10 different marker colors.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down to the final tier on this one. This is the 150, where you can get both of the hardcovers, signed book plates with the wrappers and the PDFs for $150. So these are 150. I'm guessing the first book was also 150 plus pages. I mean, similar size.
Yeah, they're all around 150 to 160 pages, depending on
Is that including the epilogues or no?
Yeah, that includes the epilogues. They're in there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. How big of a story is this? I mean, this is book 2. What's the is this going to be Berserk all over again?
No. Oh God, no!
I don't want to die before we end the story. We are hopefully starting the 5th volume online next month, and I believe there will be one more after that. But
we would like to finish this within our lifetime.
Yeah, I don't think either one of us expected this to be like a 10-year like thing, and we were kind of on hiatus over the last as far as new work goes over the last year or so, just due to a number of real life issues that I'm not going to get into, but
sure.
We would like to kind of get back in there, and of course I know exactly how it's going to end, so I would really like to be able to show everybody that.
So this is, not the only thing that you guys are doing. You're doing things separately from each other, and possibly you're doing other things together on other projects as well. I don't know. What are some of the other projects that you do have coming up?
Well, we have worked on a couple of other small, like short comics,
anthology books, right?
Anthologies and whatnot that we'll submit in. And of course, I'm always going to come up with like, what if we did a story like this? And sometimes we'll just sort of send out a proposal and see what shows up, And sometimes we get a bite, and sometimes we don't. So, but like I said, I'm also an author, so I have an urban fantasy series. I'm a hybrid author, so my original series was actually put out by Simon & Schuster back in like 2011, which is how we first met, kind of along those lines anyway. And I also do indie books as well now. So, and like I said, short stories and just whatever I can try to fit time-wise in, which is never as much as I would like, but.
And Aimo, what things have you been working on?
Well, the thing is, I used to be doing a lot of trading card illustrations for over 10 years, but I recently have to really cut back because of COVID, because it's a bit hard to, ship things on time, that. So basically now right now I just do a lot of, I guess, comics that I post online and, just do whatever I like, you see, and it's supported by people, by fans and patrons in my other Patreon. It's nothing much. It's a bit quiet on my side. A lot of my past work, I'm not really exactly doing anything except high profile now.
Not like Big Eye, Small Mouth.
Oh, no. That's a long time ago.
I know.
Ancient history.
Yeah, there's I don't know if you're familiar with the D&D series Big Eye, Small Mouth that was out many, many, many years ago.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's basically
other stuff. But.
Oh yeah, Dungeons & Dragons and all the RPGs, and Big Eye, Small Mouth, which I guess was sort of like an anime version of D&D that you could play with your friends. And Aimo actually did all the illustrations for that book when it came out a million years ago. So
that's a long time ago. It's like I'm surprised I've actually totally forgot about it right now.
somebody's asking about which Patreon tier features uncensored images. The $1. Just pay $1 and you will get to see all 4 of our not so uncensored pages. We can be had very cheap.
Yeah, I was going to say you're not out a whole lot there, Lorenzo. Just throw in that $1 and start screen capping away.
Just $1.
You should at least give Gideon some sort of a digital G-string to tuck
No.
into.
And it's not even about Gideon. You're not even going to get a chance to start Gideon at all. So I suggest you read the rest of the story before you get there, because you're just going to be like, what are these 2 people boning for? I don't get it. So it's very...
Last thing you want to do is want a refund on your $1 because you didn't
take your $1 back, sir. I'm sorry.
This is not who I wanted to see. So at some point we're going to learn where the collar came from, why he's got it on, what his relationship is with Willow.
Yes.
And you're teasing all this out book by book.
Yeah, that a lot of that information comes out in the next book 3, and then book 4 has like a really, really crappy secret that comes out, and it sort of like destroys the relationship. So
way to sell it, Allison. It's a
I
really
know.
crappy secret.
Crappy secret. Well, crappy to keep is what I mean. Not just that it's a bad secret story-wise necessarily, but just like it's sort of a dark thing that a certain fox spirit has not been talking about when he probably should have been way back at the beginning, and he didn't.
Yeah, it's something that he let fester to a point where it becomes differences that is too hard to ignore.
Yeah, so we'll have to see where we go from there.
So with 6 books planned for this whole arc here, what's the release schedule look like? I mean, if you're working on 5 now, I'm guessing 3 and 4 are going to be pretty much hot on the heels of what we got right now.
Right. I think, let's see, the 3rd book still has pages that need to be rescanned. I think when we originally scanned them in back for just webcomic stuff, we didn't scan them in a high enough resolution. So
because we didn't think that we were ever going to publish
this. No,
I mean,
so we just
the webcomic. It wasn't in our, we were like thinking of doing. I mean, Fox and Willow, when we started, it was something fun, but we didn't realize that
10 years later, here we are still working on it. So
it's like I'm reaping the mistakes of my past self.
But book 4 is all digital, so that's already ready to go. That can just be like boop, pushed off, and we're done. We are not the fastest to I guess page makers in the world. We when we're on, it's usually about 2 pages a week, which is not a lot but it is for us because we all have other things going on. So yeah.
Now, you got a December delivery date on this one. 14 days left to go. Still $395 till this is considered a fait accompli. Any worries?
I think we're gonna make it. Let's put it this way. We don't. I'm gonna throw $400 at it myself, so it'll fund. I'm not worried about it.
I was gonna say Outland's gonna be like, dig into petty cash.
Come on, let's get it out. No, I think we'll be okay. We're actually up. I think compared to our first one, Kickstarters are sort of weird because it's like you get that big rush in the beginning and then a kind of like the dead zone sometimes in there, and then by the end it's like, oh, it's your last chance, and then whoop, everyone goes, oh wait, I forgot, and then they, hopefully that'll be what happens here.
So has with this much of it being done and as beautiful as it looks, just on the face of it here, has there been any talk with anyone about taking this? I'm going to call it a manga because it looks like a manga, and Aimo's drawing it, so yeah, it's manga. But has there been any talk with anybody about turning it into an anime? And please don't say Netflix.
No, not that I'm aware of. It would be awesome. If it could, I think it would make a very cute, interesting series. But no, I don't. As far as I'm aware of, no.
Yeah, because I think each 152 page book you could definitely get 10 to 13, episodic retellings. Each one's a season.
Exactly. It could be. I could see where it could definitely be. Lengthened out a little bit. We could probably add more.
You speak slower and you actually watch them walk from place to place.
Yeah, maybe.
Animation does that. Yeah, and of course, in Pops Van Zant here says, and then somebody with a platform finds out about you. RJ, send them my way. Pops Van Zant does have the comics related madness on Facebook, so he's another podcaster like myself who loves to get creatives on and talk about their projects. Chris is ready to voice Gideon.
He's ready to be Gideon. Okay.
He'll have a cameo. I think he'll have the cameo in if we ever animate the fourth book.
Yeah, Chris was one of our Patreons. He contributed a what tier at one point, and we wrote him into the fourth book, the fourth volume. He actually has a character there.
Very cool. That's something that a lot of crowdfunded books do like to do. They'll throw up like, hey, $150, you get to be a character. I've been doing it for free. I write, the Remo Williams, the Destroyer series, and chapter 1, I always kill one of my friends. It's like, you're going to be in the book, but not for long. Every book starts with a murder, so it is. So we did make it over the 5,000 mark tonight. We're at the 5,105, $395 to go, folks.
Look at that.
We're not going to have it happen here. Have it happen somewhere, sometime within the next 2 weeks. I would like to see this one get funded. This one looks like a really good and worthwhile book. And it looks, I've seen the physical thing in your hands now. This is quality. This is quantity of quality. So link below.
It's a good size. So.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Hardcover. Where are you going to get a hardcover book for $30? I'm going to just reiterate that one here. Yeah. Thank you for going right to it, Paige. $30 or more, you get the hardcover of this volume 2. If you haven't read it at all, then go down here to $40 and get the hardcover with the book plate, and then $50. If you don't care about the book plates, $50 you get 1 and 2, both in hardcovers, both with PDF accompanying them. You're not going to get a better time. So, all right, ladies.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about Fox and or Willow and or the world they operate in that we did not touch on, which would have sold, another $395 worth of books?
All the naked. No, I won't do that. No.
Okay, so we're going to go to the Scheherazade story next, and that's where it's really going to be all boobs and flesh and stuff like that.
There we go. We'll have a different kind of Kickstarter for that later. Yeah. Gideon and his OnlyFans page. And we will not do that.
Chris is like, what's the link?
No, I don't think so. But it's been really fun to be here tonight. So thank you so much.
I've definitely enjoyed it. So thank you both for coming on, and
thank you for having us.
I'd love to have you back when you launch the next one, or if you want to come back in 13 days and just have a blowout on the last day. Be happy to do that too. Folks in the chat, thank you so much for coming here tonight. We don't have a show without you, so we're always happy that you're here and supporting our creators. And as always, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.